All right, hey guys. Today is the February 12th. It is 2 p.m. Eastern, back an hour from our regular time at 3 p.m. But it started interacting with my child pickup time for school, and all things would go crazy. And I'd have all this noise and background and all this other crap. So I chose, we're moving it back. So hopefully you guys will forgive me. Um, Okay, so Matt should be here in just a little bit. I want to get started with Carrie Allen and maybe Chris Roberts too. I'm not sure if he's coming on. Carrie and Chris are the pair that are behind our marketing, social media, and new content. So these guys can hopefully talk a little bit about what they're doing. I think we're going to start with Digicon and sort of talk about just a little bit of the what we're doing, how we're growing, what the point is, and kind of a broad objective timeline and whatever else you got on your brain, Carrie.
All right. Thank you. Yes. So, yeah, we do the marketing and all those things. Today, my focus really is going to be on Digicon. For anybody who's been around with us for a while, you've heard the word Digicon before. We had our very first Digicon event. It's kind of like what you would assume it from those two words. It's a digital convention, and we're all really used to those. The big difference that we wanted to do was make it more gamified and more fun because we are in the blockchain gaming biz and DeFi and all this stuff. And we tend to like to run around and have a good time. So last year, I did some research on different kinds of venues that we could use online, and we found one called Gamer Jibe. And I really loved it. For one, I have kind of crappy internet at my house, and I'm not really able to load a lot of the really, really heavy, even browser based digital worlds, so to speak, like Decentraland and Crypto Voxels are like the two main ones that people are really familiar with. I've still not even been able to view what they look like from my own computer, which makes me very sad monkey. But I did find GamerJive, like I said, and the way that they have everything set up, it's a super, super smooth experience. We had our first Digicon in November of last year. We had about 174 people show up. And the biggest thing the takeaway from that was that all of those people essentially stayed most of the time. Like normally when you go to an event, you pop in, you might have trouble, you're bored, you don't really get to walk around, you go check out like the list of speakers and things like that, and there's really nothing to do. But Digicon is different. The venue with GamerJibe, it's basically set up just like a convention hall. We have booths, you come into a welcome room where there's people walking around, you have your own avatar that you can decorate and change your hair, your color, skin color. You can wear hats, beards, long hair, short hair, all sorts of things. They have new things that they're adding to stuff right now. So for anybody who's around in this space, the last week, ETH Denver has been using Digicon as their castle. I don't know how many people are familiar with ETH Denver or if they'd gone to it in real life before, but it was a convention that actually happened in real life in Denver. And they just couldn't do it this year. So this year they decided to opt in and use GamerJibe, and it was super fun. They have been able to implement tons and tons of other new exciting things. I'm going to pull up a picture. Yesterday I was in there in GamerJive. What did I call it? Party fun. Oh, yeah. All right. So here's a couple things I'm just going to drop in the chat. I was hanging out in the Gala Games booth. They had a small booth. This is exactly like kind of what it will look like in there. As you can see, there's a ton of people in there with their avatars. We're all kind of wearing the same outfit in this, but as you can see, there's hats. There's some other weird shaped creatures like up on the back of the thing. That was their mascot up there. I'm actually on the middle of the screen holding a large yellow can, which was my drink of choice walking around, which was yerba mate. You can dance, you talk, you literally are able to just like go do fun stuff and make connections. And so we're doing Digicon again this year. So basically the idea is you have a booth set up just like you would in real life. You have a business to shill or an idea or a community that you want to put up. You are able to put up videos, slides, have links available, private talks with people. We're also going to have tons of little mini games. We'll be auctioning off NFTs in the space. In all honesty, we're only going to spend maybe an hour of the time doing NFT auction. It was a lot of fun last time. It was live auction. So you sat in a room where you got to raise your hands and actually bid on things, and we sold some stuff. I do know D City, Gerber, who runs it, he's already said that he's going to be having a booth again this time and auctioning off another city. And what he did for that, for those of you familiar with it, is he's kind of built that up, and he's got a bunch of little mini NFTs inside the city, and he'll just give over the keys to that. And so if you're, new to it or maybe interested in doing something like that, then it's a really, really easy way to just get into it, as far as other things too. Yeah, and no VR for Digicon. I know that the Hive Fest, a few people I've talked to said that, they couldn't attend that because they didn't have super amazing, awesome, wonderful, fun VR. This is not like that at all. It's totally browser-based. It is not available on mobile yet. I mean, I think that you can bring it up, but that is not something that they are currently on purpose supporting. That is in their timeline to be able to get that up. So right now it is definitely browser-based, preferably on a desktop or a laptop computer. And I have heard that people use tablets and things like that they're able to also get in. They have, and it's so fun. Like, I can't imagine not having a good time. So I am working with Gala Games as well, and they're going to be having an event coming up. And Digicon is going to be on March 13th this year. So we're just about exactly a month out from Digicon. I'm currently filling up booth space. I'm also taking people who want to have potential NFTs up for sale. Again, that's going to be a really limited number because it takes a few minutes to do the live auction, but it's super fun because we just go through just like a live auction, just like you would see in real life. So it's kind of like bringing the real world virtual, where you can still wear your pajamas and not look cute. But on top of that, you could look cute because you can do screen shares, video shares, just like you can like in Discord or anything like that. You're definitely able to do all of those things inside Digicon, as well as earn swag, stuff we all get, as well as enter contests for different things. And most importantly for Digicon, it's make connections in the space. We are all blockchain. For a long time, we were all hunkered down and we were all doing our own thing, working on our own projects, which is perfect because we need to kind of have those blinders on so that we can really do that and really be focused. Well, now we have all these great projects and we think that we're this huge, huge community, and we're not really. We're little tiny ones. And so to bring everybody together to start dipping their toes into other projects and other ideas and things, that's where I think we're going to really start to shine. And so these kind of events where we bring people together, I think it's going to be the best for everyone. So
one part that I'd like to emphasize with that is that as we make partnerships with the other groups for Digicon, these things tend to end up as promotionals that we do for Splinterlands. And so the connections that we're making, the partnerships that we're making, it's not just some ephemeral thing that's totally separate from us as a business. This is a great opportunity for us to make new partnerships and use those partnerships to leverage their audience and for them to leverage our audience and give you guys good, sweet deals for, extra loot like we did with Blockchain Heroes and with COGS. I think this turns into actual money and users, which is why I've been such a strong proponent of making this happen.
Yeah. I completely agree. At the first Digicon, we made a lot of really great partnerships out of the first Digicon, just from us meeting people. And then, as most conventions or most parties, there's always that handful of folk that just hang out afterwards, after the whole thing's done, and they just hang out and play. And we had probably 30, 40 people hang out after it was over inside the event, talking and making connections. And that's where we got essentially our Blockchain Heroes promotion that we had, where you were able to purchase packs online from Splinterlands, and in reward you got a little bonus from Blockchain Heroes, and the same thing with COGS. That was another one. Our Gala Games partnership has really grown also because of Digicon, and then there's a whole bunch of other ones that are in differing levels of things that we're really excited that we're able to partner up and do this. And again, that's why I was at ETH Denver and talking to more people over there and just reminding them, that's your blockchain is there and we have ours here, we can all play together. And we're also working on, which I'm sure you all have heard about, different bridges and things that are going to help. We really like the Wax blockchain EOS because it's very similar to Hive and the one that we're all used to. And so we love bringing on new partnerships for that. So I would like to put a call out to anybody in the community. We'll need help, not as much as when we first did it in November, because Gamer Jive has really stepped up like their kind of section inside the venue. There's tons of NPCs just everywhere in the place. So if you have a question, you walk over to an NPC and it answers your questions. It's very, very easy to use. It is not at all confusing. It's really you just get to go and have a good time and meet people. So anybody who wants to maybe have a booth or have a table or a talk, I might have another space for one or two speaking places. Maybe one or two. I'm filling those up pretty quickly. Do contact me. You can contact me here in Discord. I'm generally around in Discord, or you can email me, Carrie@splinterlands.com, and I can give you all the information of what we're doing for DigiCon. It is free to enter for anybody that's coming and attending the event, at least for now, because, we just want everybody to come in and play. And I don't know, it's super fun. As far as volunteers or anything like that, shoot me up if you think you'll want to be around. We'd love to have people just streaming in the environment during the time. Like I had mentioned before, my internet is rough. So me streaming things out isn't going to be as clear as if somebody in a better internet land could do that. And it actually is really fun even to watch. So the Gala Games guys, they were streaming on Theta as well as being in the environment yesterday. And so a lot of people can really enjoy and walk around, even if they're not able to walk around in the environment, and make those connections. And, just get to know people. Get to know people with the things. It's true.
Awesome.
All right. So I don't know if Chris has anything to add to that. But yeah, it was just kind of a call for help us out, send people our way. If you know people, he unmuted. You got anything, honey?
I didn't really have anything to add. I just support everything you're saying, and I think DigiCon is has huge potential to grow Splinterlands. And like you guys were saying, we made a lot of great connections there, and we look forward to making a lot more in the future.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks so much. Have a great one.
All right, let me go back to, so that's DigiCon, and I'm glad to see more partnerships and more friends in the blockchain space. It's nice to be able to go work with people on booth space and cut deals, make friends, and there's good things that come out of that. So I'm going to start answering questions. Actually, Matt, are you here too, or are you back? I don't know. So I'm going to start answering questions as far as I know. Hopefully Matt will join us in a moment here.
I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry.
good. Welcome back.
Sorry about mute.
Will Splinterlands go to the real world and bring more people to Splinterlands? So I have a poster. I have a like Splinterlands advocate system, but we're still mostly in COVID, so I haven't really emphasized it. I don't know how full the comic book stores are and shops or whatnot, so it just hasn't seemed like the highest priority. But I think once COVID restrictions start backing off, then we'll have ways to go into the real world places and see if we can't get people. One request I have for people that are asking questions, there's a lot of like chat in the just like random chat in the AMA, which is great. I like that everybody's there's. It feels very camaraderie. But if you have questions that you would like Matt and I to answer, it's best if you put in bold or maybe in all caps question in front, so that it's super clear that you guys would like us to answer stuff for you. So I see the next question I see is Beehiver. This is today at 2:04. Will Splinterland or the Splinter Talk token be integrated into Splinterlands anytime soon, or is it a lost promise? So my general sense is that our next big release that we're going to do is guild tournaments. And there will be a break in between guild tournaments and land, because land still has some of the content being developed. So we're not really like full on into product development with that. We're still in content development for that. So I think we'll be able to go take some of the resources that we have, primarily Cryptomancer, and get some of these smaller projects knocked out. So that's on the list. Whether or not each individual thing that we have in mind will actually get done really depends on how long the content team takes for land. So there's stuff there. There will be stuff getting done. That is one of the things that's on the roadmap, and it's just, it's really difficult to predict right now. Did I say that fairly, Matt? Because that's more your baby than mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really predict, if we'll have time available or not. I mean, But also there's a number of things that we want to do and that we've talked about wanting to do for a really long time. Splinter Talk is one of them, but this is kind of a theme that we pound on at AMA after AMA. Like, it's in the best interest of everyone, I think, that we focus on the things that are going to move the needle the most, right? So Splinter Talk token being usable in the game is cool and helps, in certain ways, but we don't want to spend a bunch of time on that and then be behind on major projects that are really going to help bring in more people or take this game to the next level or bring more value to it, right? Because that would kind of be doing everyone involved a disservice if we don't, use our resources in the best way possible. So it's not that we're like, oh, that's dumb, we don't want to do it. It's that we think it's cool and we would like to do it, but we also have to be very deliberate about what resources we have available and making sure we get the most out of that time and effort.
Yep. Totally agree. Question. This is from Xanta's preface. Some players were complaining about how the official market price feed based on the two Uniswap pools differed from Steam Engine and Hive Engine. Some felt they were getting cheated because they were getting 10 to 15% less than they thought they should because they received DEC at the higher Uniswap rate and then have to sell it for less on Steam Engine or Hive Engine. Furthermore, the high ETH gas fees are suppressing normal market arbitrage. Question, what are your thoughts regarding this situation?
Yeah, so that's, anything in crypto, there's always going to be market price variance. And yes, the ETH gas fees make it a lot harder. They make the variance between prices from different markets higher because the arbitrage isn't profitable until it's, a certain amount. So that's not great. There are two things that I'm hoping will help that. One is that, as Aggroed has been announcing, Hive Engine is going to be releasing basically their version of Uniswap pools. So I think, we'll definitely be having a DEC-based pool on there with Hive. And I think there's a lot more variance in the bid-ask based markets that are more traditional. Whereas if we have a Uniswap style market on Hive, I think that will help significantly with the price issues and actually selling or buying dark energy crystals without the Ethereum gas fees. So that was one that's coming up hopefully within the next month or two that I'm looking forward to. Another thing that I've kind of had thought about for a while but we haven't done is having the option to price cards in dark energy crystals on the market, which is what most other platforms do. On OpenSea, you'll sell a card for a certain amount of Ether, not dollars. On Wax, you sell a card for a certain amount of Wax, not dollars. So then, there's pros and cons. So there, you'll always get the amount of Wax if someone buys your card, or the amount of Ether, because that's what the price is that you expect. The downside is that the dollar value you get is very variable. So we've, between those two options, we thought it would be better and easier for players, especially non-crypto players, to have everything be priced in dollars. So you don't put something up for this amount of Ether and then the price varies wildly and, you get a lot of different dollars that you expect. We opted for pricing in dollars, and that means the amount of cryptocurrency you get varies, and then the amount you can trade it for on the markets, can vary based on the different markets. So ultimately, I think if we price things in dark energy crystals, there would be a lot more variance in the actual US dollar value you get out of it, but that's sort of expected because things aren't priced in US dollars. So I don't know about that. That's why we haven't kind of gone forward with that, because I'm not sure if that would necessarily be better or help anything, but it is an option that would take care of that issue. But I guess we'll kind of see what happens with the diesel pools, as Aggroed is calling them, on Hive Engine, and see if that helps. And if not, we'll just keep looking into other options, because obviously the Ethereum gas fee issue is not ideal, but at the same time, we also want to be on Ethereum because there's a lot of value there. So we got to balance all those things.
Yeah, so Hive Engine, if I put that hat on for a moment, and they're working on diesel pools, which are they're like Uniswap pools, but they're diesel, which means no gas is required. So there's no trading fee that's part of that. So that's one part of that. I am working. Cryptomancer does work for Hive Engine as well, and he is working on getting Ethereum onto Hive Engine. So it's possible that within the next 4 to 6 weeks, you could have a diesel pool that's still Ethereum based versus DEC that we could pull prices from, but it would just be the Hive Engine equivalent of that. And then the last piece is that I'm working on also getting stable coins onto Hive Engine. They may be ERC20s, which would be like MakerDAO's DAI, or it would be maybe something of our own, like a algorithmic stable coin is something we could do, or maybe even something like Tether that would be like a swap USD. So there's a bunch of different options that I think will be opened up, and I think it's within the next 4 to 6 weeks. But as Matt knows, and as I know from a couple different development teams, like targeting an exact date is really challenging. But I think that can. I don't know if it solves the problem, but it certainly it certainly indicates that there would be a solution that gets us nearly the same thing, but without like the majority of the costs that are associated with it that are causing all the pain. So my prediction is 4 to 6 weeks of pain, and then hopefully significantly less as there's gasless Uniswap pools available. Question. This is also from Byzantinist. There's a series of similar questions, but with important differences. What is the purpose of Diamond League, and why does it have the exact same summoner level limits as Champion League? What is the purpose of the Diamond League leaderboard? What is the purpose of Diamond League tournaments, especially since they mainly benefit Champion League players and not Diamond League players?
Well, to start, we didn't have summoner level limits when the game was first implemented. So those were added in after the fact, shortly after, but after. And it, didn't make sense to be able to divide them into 5 different levels versus 4. So the purpose of Diamond League, or really I should say the purpose of Champion League, was like to separate players who have kind of max level cards or near max level cards. So it may not be as much of a thing right now. There's not like a ton of players, but you could imagine a situation, hopefully in the future, where there's like lots and lots more players in the game, and lots of them have, higher or closer to max level decks, but there's still a big separation between groups of those players. Like there's kind of the champion level ones, the better league of players, versus the diamond, like lesser players who aren't as good, I guess, or don't quite have like a fully max deck or whatever it is. So that's kind of the purpose, and there's not as much separation right now because there's just not a lot of players up at that level. And then the purpose of the Diamond League leaderboard is, well, we didn't want to just like not have a leaderboard for Diamond League, so it, I guess it gives players more opportunities, more leaderboards to earn rewards in. I understand that. Some players who would normally be playing in Champion League stay down in Diamond League in order to try to compete for the leaderboard, and I don't see any issue with that. It's just more opportunities for people to earn, and they are also, giving up some season and quest rewards to do that. So I'm not, I guess overall, like, what is the purpose of it? There weren't like purposes of these things initially when we launched the game. We made the 5 leagues. And now we're kind of adding in other features as we go and fitting those into, what exists in the game. But
I got a thought to share on that. So I often think about this economically for players, and I think about money. I think about how much money does it take for you to go move up into the world and get higher and higher. And I'm looking at the Magma Troll, and the Magma Troll is it's an untamed card. And to get to level 8, it takes 220 cards. And to get to level 10, it takes 400. Which means that nearly half of the cost of the max level card is really just the last 2 levels. So like if you're trying to build like a big max deck, part of the reason why I've always liked the concept of like allowing players to kind of hold back at different leagues and at different paces is that like as you go up, the cost structure gets higher and higher, and I think that it's natural that you need some accumulation time in between. And that is not a negative to players, but allowing them to accumulate cards and get up their reward cards and trade for the things that they need and get some time for that is a very beneficial thing for them. And so, like Matt was saying, maybe you don't have quite the max level card, maybe you don't have quite the max level skill, and you have to compete with the players that do. It's actually the biggest like financial gap in the game is really between the champion level players and the diamond level players, because that at least for the common cards, but certainly the less rare card types as well, a ton of the cost is really just in the last couple levels. So that's part of why in my brain it makes so much sense to separate them, is that there is a huge cost difference between a competitive diamond deck and like a fully max level champion. That is literally like the bulk of the cost of the game difference. That's why I support those things.
Yeah, I mean that definitely makes sense. And like I said, it might not even be as apparent or make as much sense yet, but as hopefully we grow the game and we get a lot more players up to those levels, the separation will be more distinct. And then the third one's about tournaments. I'm not as involved in tournaments as Aggroed is, but that tournaments are always a work in progress. So, if there's not really I guess originally we didn't even have a separate champion league for tournaments because it was just based on the card levels, and I think we added that in because now we have the ability to like differentiate entry fees or try to limit tournaments to actually people in certain leagues. So there's a lot we can play with there to try to make them more distinct or for different players.
Yeah, so same kind of thing. The difference is it's a huge financial gap between a good diamond level deck and a fully maxed champion level deck. That is the biggest leap in the game. And so to me, it makes perfect sense that we're going to separate those players and give different rewards for those players. Biz, you're sort of helping to lead that the player concerns or the players union regarding tournaments. So we'll see what you guys come up with. I had asked that by the 14th or so, you guys have a set of proposals that Matt and I can review, so that by the beginning of March, maybe there is a different tournament structure, and it may or may not include Diamond League. But hopefully, we're open to player feedback. It doesn't mean that you guys get 100% of what you want, but it certainly will go into the next round of tournament creation to go figure out what makes sense, what doesn't, and what is the balance that at least that vocal group of players is requesting, and we can compare that to the information we have, the data we have, and see if the suggestions of that group seem to make sense, or if it's an experiment that we want to run. I'm totally open to it. I just want to see what you guys like, a final proposal before I just dive in and say yes, 100% we're doing it. All right, so now I see a question from Coronavirus. Not sure if this is an answer, but why can't we have monsters with the same speed attacking at the same time instead of having it luck-based? It doesn't exactly have to be the same time, just have the monster death and status effects take place after the same speed monsters have gone. For example, I mean, if your redemption kills your opponent's redemption monster and weaken monsters, then the redemptions go off first before weaken deactivates. Why can't attacks be something similar to this?
So, there are a couple things there. So one, something I have been working on is a big update to the battle, how the battles work to handle simultaneous events the proper way. So things like earthquake, redemption, even blast, poison, whatever, things that are really supposed to be simultaneous to multiple monsters in the current game are not. if you have Earthquake and it kills a monster, it'll go down the list, top team, bottom team, or whatever order. Does the first monster does damage. If it kills that monster dies. If it had debuffs or buffs, those would be taken away from the other monsters since it died, and then that might allow another monster to then live or die from the Earthquake where it wouldn't have otherwise. So I've redesigned the whole battle code to make it work where all the damage effects will happen simultaneously. Even though on the screen you'll see one at a time, they take 2 damage. It'll wait to resolve the deaths of any monsters or the application of any buffs or debuffs until the full thing is finished. So until the Earthquake damage has hit all the monsters that it's supposed to, and things like that. So that's a pretty big change, and my plan is to put it up on a test environment and maybe run a tournament on the test environment where we put up some like real prizes and get maybe Mavericks or people to come in and run a test tournament on our test environment and let us know if there are any issues with that. But I think that'll be a major update that'll kind of fix that whole issue of simultaneous events in battles. Now, this question here is specifically about monsters with the same speed attacking at the same time. That's something I looked at, and that's something I don't think we can really do, in the sense that like too much stuff happens in an attack to really resolve them simultaneously in a way that makes sense. So if 2 monsters were attacking at the same time, they might have all sorts of other effects that then would affect the other monster's attack, and it just would kind of be a really big nightmare to try to implement that. I mean, I did start to try to implement it, and it was way too complicated. So I think the plan is that they will still go with the luck-based element there, and the game has luck-based elements. There's obviously missed chances and things like chances to apply certain effects. That's just another element of luck that is part of the game. So each individual battle, even if you should win, sometimes you will lose, but over enough battles, skilled players will win more times than lesser skilled players, due to the law of large numbers.
It makes me think we need initiative. We should add another stat called initiative, and it's sort of like your speed is now 2.6 or 2.7, but it's not tracked that way. It would be based off of your initiative. I don't know.
That's also something that can and will likely come into play with the land expansion and the items and spell cards, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it really, I don't want to say it's not doable, but it's not reasonable to make it work where monsters will attack at the same time as things are built right now. But I am working on making it so that simultaneous damage events like Earthquake will actually happen simultaneously, and all deaths will be resolved after that's done. So that should be a big and hopefully welcome change in the near future.
All right. Is Splinterlands going to be an RPG game? What is Land for? God, that's a giant question. Splinterlands could be an RPG game. We could make something like that. We're considering for 2022 or maybe a little bit beyond that, like a tactics game, which is kind of a RPG style. So it could be. Whether or not that's the next thing we do, I don't know. We got to complete Land before we start thinking about any other next projects to talk about.
Well, I think the question is specifically is the Land expansion going to be making Splinterlands into an RPG game? And the answer is no. And if you want to learn more about what Land is for, there are links on the Land page in the Splinterlands shop to our blog, which kind of goes through our whole plans for the Land expansion, what it's for. I don't want to go into it too much, but I do want to say the whole idea with Land, it started, our plan is to add new types of cards to the game. And this is going to be rehashed for a lot of people, but I think it's really cool. And so I do want to rehash it one more time. So our plan is to add new types of cards to the game called item and spell cards. So the idea is after each player picks their team and each player sees their team and their opponent's team on the battlefield, they'll have one more step in the battle where they get to cast spells or equip their monsters with items. So it adds another element of skill to the game without making the battles too much longer, where you have to, evaluate the battlefield quickly, within a minute or two, and decide what type of items and spells you want to use. So we had that plan a long time ago. We think that's really great and is going to make the game that much better, and we're very excited for it. And we were just going to do that. And originally the plan was, okay, we would just release these items and spell cards in packs, and you just buy them like you get normal cards. But then we kind of took it to another level, and we thought about, well, instead of just selling them in packs, wouldn't it be cool if the players were able to mint those cards themselves? And then, so that Splinterlands, the company, never sells those cards. It's all to the players to create and sell those cards to other players, and kind of control that entire market and production process. And that's what led to the land expansion. So the idea is we're kind of building an empire building game within Splinterlands where people can own land, they can harvest resources, build buildings, and the ultimate goal of all this is to craft these new items and spell cards. And that's the only way they'll ever be created. We won't sell them. They won't be in packs. Players who have land and have buildings and resources will be able to craft these new cards or mint them. And then any players who don't have land and want to get those cards can buy them on the market from the players who make them. And that is just, I think, just as a player, I'm really excited about that. That sounds like really cool. It's not something I've really seen in any other game of this type. And I'm just really excited for the ability to do that and mint, my own cards that you can then sell. And it actually gives like tons of real value to the land, which is missing in a lot of games, even blockchain based ones where, there's people, speculate on the land and, that other people will come and they just want to buy all the coolest stuff and there's limited quantity and yada, yada, yada. But there's no actual value to the land in a lot of cases, or to the assets other than showing off and having the best stuff. But here, like, there's obviously a significant amount of demand for Splinterlands cards, and so that value, all the demand and all the money that's going to come in to buy the new items and spell cards will ultimately go to the landowners, which I don't know. It's just as like a player of these type of games myself, and I think I can speak for Aggroed also.
100%.
We just think that's really cool, and that's what most of the stuff we build is stuff that we just would really like to play, and we think is really neat, and like to be involved in. So that's why, even though a lot of you know all this already, I like to put it in, say it again and put it in that perspective of like what's going on and how cool this could be. And a lot of times I talk about this stuff to people who aren't involved in Splinterlands, or who don't know about this land stuff yet and are just gamers, and I can tell a lot of them also think this is really cool, this concept, and are really looking forward to it. So I don't know. I think we're really onto something neat here, and I'm just really super excited to see this all come to life.
All right, I have nothing to add. Matt nailed it.
Sorry for the super long thing.
No. It was, it's a giant question. Is it going to be an RPG? What is land for? Can you buy a house in Splinterlands? No, but you can build your items and crafting and all that. Is it going to be like a map? Yes, it is. Please go look at, like Matt said, we have a whole set of documents about this, and they're on the land page. So that's a good place to start. Biz is asking me a question. Some people were wondering why you bought so many cards yesterday, and were spinning the conspiracy theory that you were doing this to boost the market cap. So I thought that'd give you a chance to address it and dispel any such rumors. I put in a low bid for DEC and it filled. And then I took that DEC and I bought some gold foil cards. I think you guys are nuts to be selling gold foils underneath $1. So I went and I bought a lot of them underneath $1. And it wasn't like, if I wanted to boost market cap, I'd pick one and send it to 80 billion. No, for this in particular, I like my game. I like these cards. I like owning it. And I get yelled at when I buy, I get yelled at when I sell, and I don't really care. I just like owning this stuff. I think this game is super cool. Question from Unit QM. Joining late, so sorry if you already answered. Do we have a button to undelegate cards that have been sent to us? I want to send cards back to the card owners without needing the card owner to take action.
Yeah, we can. So we'll see. I guess maybe that could be part of like the rental market stuff that we're working on, because that's involves a lot of delegation updates. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that can be added. I didn't have a specific plan to add it, but if people want it, then sure, it shouldn't be too difficult.
It's a good nice to have. If we're, it's a perfect kind of thing to do. I would never say stop the press and do that, but like you said, we're working on the rental market, so that's a good time to toss that in.
In the past, also, it's been mentioned a few times because there were some certain exploits that were happening with regard to either like delegating unwanted cards or things like that. And my response was more like, we shouldn't necessarily give people a way to undelegate the cards, as we should fix the exploits, which should be the main focus, which is what we hopefully have done. So if the reason you're asking that question is because there's some problem or issue, then let us know about the problem or issue so we can address that. Like, I just feel like there shouldn't, like, if you want to undelegate cards, fine, and we can add that. But there shouldn't be like a reason why you feel like you have to. That means there's something wrong, in my opinion. Like, it should always be beneficial to you to have more cards delegated, and it should never be a problem.
Question: when will the Praetorian map be released? Asking for a friend. I have Excite. How far away do you think we are from the map?
Oh crap! I got out of the AMA chat, so I was following around.
How long till the map?
Well, our plan is Q2, and we are still on track for Q2 at this point, as far as I know. Nate's been putting together some, great designs around that. It's really coming together. I don't, at this point, foresee any reason why it shouldn't be out before the end of June.
Alrighty. This is from Beehiver. What about making a Rune DEC pool on Binance Smart Chain as more and more people are going there? We're looking at Binance Smart Chain, right? Possibly integrating over there.
Yeah, so I mean, if it was just as simple as we go and like click a few buttons and make a pool, we probably would, but we have to basically integrate, create a smart contract, which can be effectively the same. Binance Smart Chain is basically an Ethereum clone, but we also hired a third-party developer to do our Ethereum contracts, that we trusted. They are unfortunately no longer available, so we have to work with someone else that we trust. To port that over to Binance Chain, and then we have to also verify and be very careful about security for hacks and things. So it's kind of like this whole big process, even though it is just a fork of Ethereum basically, and we can copy and paste a lot of stuff. But that being said, the Hive user that goes by FBSLO has made a wrapped Hive version on Binance Smart Chain. So I've been, talking to him a bit about potentially, having him do that for dark energy crystals. So it is something we've been actively talking about and looking towards. But the sooner thing would be the Hive engine based markets. But then, another consideration is, okay, if we add a pool on both Hive engine or Binance Smart Chain or anywhere else, then we have to also incentivize it. And then it's a question of, okay, do we take some of the rewards away from the Ethereum pool, which we kind of already did when we added the DAI pool. And, some people don't like that. We don't also want to just keep adding more and more dark energy crystal inflation to have all these pools everywhere. So, there's just a lot of stuff to consider, which is kind of true of most everything in the game. And it's not just a matter of, oh, sure, we'll just go throw a pool up there and everything's solved. So that's why a lot of times you guys make great suggestions. But there's actually like a whole ton of stuff that we have to consider for pretty much every even small change that we might do. But it's definitely on the radar.
Yeah, so that's actually, I don't know if you read ahead for answering this question, but are we going to if we do the diesel pool, are we going to increase the fund? Like, do you have a way that you're leaning with this? Do you not want to talk about numbers until it's exactly happening? Or what do you think the most likely outcome is for diesel pools?
I'm not leaning any way yet because I haven't put the thought into it to even have a way to lean or to know what all our options are. But we will need to incentivize adding liquidity to the pool if we want players to do it. There's the option of also Splinterlands just providing a significant amount of liquidity to the pool, which we're also doing on Ethereum. So I don't know, but that's part of the things that we need to consider. And we're definitely open to player feedback. But with these type of things, it's usually, a bunch of players want one thing and another bunch of players want the exact opposite. So we try to do our best to make something that works as well as possible for as many people as possible.
That's the fun of blockchain. Can't please everyone. All right, Tanzafet is asking question. What's with the weird decimal places thing? Just a glitch or a bug?
There's a weird JavaScript bug with math. It's kind of weird even for me as a developer that like JavaScript does that when like adding or subtracting numbers, which seems like a really normal thing that shouldn't be a problem in any modern programming language. We've been making a bunch of changes on the back end to make things run smoother and help scale, help things scale, which has changed the formatting of a lot of the numbers, which is why that has all of a sudden been popping up for some players. And it's just something I'm going to need to go in and get fixed.
All right. Just looking for, so now we're back to Biz. Question, though Matt partially answered this. This past week, there was talk about whether a player appears at the top or bottom of the screen and how certain game operations like Earthquake and Noxious Fumes are always applied to one player first, and then rumors about how top-bottom position is not randomized, but depends on which player was searching for a match first, which may have implications when it comes to bots. Can you explain more about how this mechanic currently works?
So that's correct. It is which player was searching for a match first. It's not random. And at the time, I didn't at least realize or think it needed to be random because I didn't know about all this stuff at that time. So there is potential, it should be random, and that should be an easy change, which is on my list as it was brought up. Aside from that, once we implement the changes that I talked about earlier, where the simultaneous actions are actually simultaneous, then it hopefully shouldn't actually matter who's on top or bottom. But yeah, that's the plan. Both implement those changes, and we should be able to make the top bottom random.
All right. Quantum Nachos is asking, how different does the amount of people in each league look these days versus before Collection Power was released?
That is a good question, and I don't have that in front of me right now.
Yeah, I'll bug Matt about that this week, and by next week we'll have a good answer. But that's a great question.
I know. I was looking more like rewards distribution and stuff. Clearly, there are a lot more players in the lower leagues than there were before. A lot of the lower leagues were like kind of almost empty in the past because everyone would just move up to the higher leagues pretty easily. So. Maybe some players have that information. We can also look it up, but it would be good to look at
and quantify
the distribution. Yeah.
Wouldn't it make sense for the players to separate the diamond and champion players? All right. So Biz is asking me, well, in that case, when I said there's a big financial gap between champion and diamond, and that's the reason why we should support both. Then Diamond League tournaments are failing because the Diamond League players are just constantly getting crushed by the Champion League players. Wouldn't it make sense to separate the Diamond and Champion players for this? So maybe I should maybe in the proposal, the Diamond players should say, hey, we want there to be a fee for the Champion players to join so that there's at least some deterrent for them being there. But that's the first I've thought about that, so I don't have an answer. But if the players that are part of the tournament redesign process want to provide that as a feedback and, get a lot of support, then that could be something that I look into.
Yeah, one option in general, not just in Diamond League, is to limit tournaments like much more specifically to certain groups of players. Whether it's the league you're in or also include, both low and high collection power caps. I mean, we can get very specific on who's allowed in what tournaments if that's what people want, and that seems to be better.
Yeah, if the players want it, I think I'm okay with it. Most of what the players want, if you guys want it, we want to design this game to meet your needs. I don't want to just change things for a few loud players, but if there's broad consensus, especially across the Mavs, then I will feel compelled to, hold my tongue on some of these things and go with a lot of the suggestions that the players make. But that said, tournaments are really like a constantly evolving experiment. There's not one good way to do them. I'm sure that there's a million different people with a million different motives that want different tournament layouts. Kill some, reward more. Don't do that. Do this. I want it this way. Like it's a completely insatiable feeling. Just because that's the nature of a decentralized blockchain. That there's not one block that represents everybody. Everybody comes with totally different reasons, cards, desires, like ways that they play, bots, no bots, like everybody's different. And so you can't please everybody. So if you guys get some broad agreement, especially across the Mavs, then I'm willing to go run the experiment to see how something goes. My current timeline is something like, if I make too many changes, it's likely that I screw something up when making the tournament. So if we're going to do this, it'll be like, let's make one set of changes. We'll run it for a month or two, and then we can come back and see what does it look like after we've tried some changes. And then we can go back and say, all right, well, if that group or a different group wants to come forward and make new proposal suggestions to tournaments, then we can review that. I'm willing to make changes. I'm not really willing to set anything completely in stone because things change, and that's okay. Question: did you guys start working on lands? Yes, we did. They're in progress and still on track for Q2.
But just to be clear, like the map and redeeming your claims for specific plots and seeing the details of those plots is what's planned for Q2. Then hopefully our plan is by the end of the year we'd have the rest of it where you can build the buildings and harvest the resources and then and create the items and spells.
Unit QM is asking, are spells and or items and spells single use? I see a mix. I'm not. That's not entirely set or certain, but I think there's plenty of options for permanent, and then maybe there will be some single use ones put in as well. Is that a fair answer?
Yeah, I'd say probably majority permanent, but that's the part of all the design of that and the economy of how that works. It's possible there could also be some sort of like, durability, or like even though you don't necessarily lose the item or spell, it could need maintenance, if it's used a certain amount to be able to be usable again. There's a lot of ideas there, but we also I want to avoid a situation where like people just never use the really good items and spells, because they don't want to lose them. Like that's just not a good. In general, with these type of games, like you don't want to be losing your assets in any way, shape or form. So I would lean towards, you get them and you can use them. Maybe you have to maintain them or do something to keep using them, but you're not going to like lose some gold foil legendary item or something like that.
Are you guys still in the Ubisoft lab? The Ubisoft lab wrapped up. I got to go give a talk in front of 110 Ubisoft employees. That was pretty fun. But that's over with now. That whole program is meant to be in person in Paris, and this was COVID and far away. So I think other crops of blockchain games might have been able to get more out of it than we have. But every single time that I talk to a VC or somebody else, I subtly mention that we were part of the Ubisoft lab, and that seems to make some smiles or put people a little bit more at ease. Trying to see the next question. We're running out of time. We got about 4 minutes. So I'm not taking any more questions. So please don't put any more questions into the list here. Questions: who are the purchasers of Boss Monsters? Flavi, Crypto Eater, Aggroed, Cryptomancer, and man, I just had this the other day.
Was Exile?
And Exile, that's right. Yeah, those are the 5. What's the priority list for which gets implemented first? I think Flavia is going to go first now. Although, Cryptomancer and Exile, yep. All right. When Pancake? I don't think that's a real question. Just scrolling. Biz on a roll for the questions today. On the decimal point thing, I've gotten various requests over for larger decimals and commas since they can be hard to see. And a lot of players outside the US get confused because commas and decimal points mean different things to different countries. Can you make the decimals, commas bigger? And can you add an option for European style math?
I mean, again, we can, and I understand that that's an issue. We just have to find the time to do that. And there's like 5 million places in the game where there are numbers shown with commas and decimals. So, we gotta deal with all of them.
Yeah, put it on the list. More questions. Question: when is the next crop of Splinterlands interns coming, and will they actually produce something useful to the community? Hey, I actually really like Splintex. If you want to buy 2,000 cards, there's nothing better than Splintex. That's my experience. When Pancake was a real question, that's the Binance DeFi pools. I mean, like Matt was saying, we're looking at getting a DEC version onto Binance Smart Chain, and if that happens, then we'll likely go and make a DEC pool over there. So, I don't know. So Splinterns, I just haven't had much time to go. Like I have a school and a group and thought about it. I don't really have a good project in mind for them, so I haven't gone back and done it. But I don't know. It's on my radar. I'm not sure when I'll do it next. Matt, when are we doing our next AMA? Are we going to do that same time, morning or evening?
Well, I think it's good to keep switching them around. I don't know I don't remember what we did in the past.
Let's do it evening. Let's do.
Yeah, I think evening is the next.
Let's do 8 p.m.
Okay, 8 p.m. Eastern, which should be 1 a.m. UTC.
Yep. So I'll update that on your calendar. That's for Friday the 19th. We'll do that at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Alrighty.
All right. I think we're going to call this for this AMA. Thank you, everybody. You guys are awesome. This community is fantastic. Go Digicon. That's about a month away. Should be fantastic. If you have projects you want to showcase, or if you want to volunteer or get involved or just try to make more connections, and please go talk to Carrie Allen, and she can help hook you up in the Digicon space arena. And lots of good stuff is coming, and it's only possible because we have this fantastic killer community. Thank you for supporting this game. Thank you for playing this game. It's great that Matt and I get to do this full time. And there are some cool things coming. Next up seems to be the guild tournaments. That has actually reached some server testing, so that's good news. That when you get the testing phase, that's getting up there in that development cycle. So, anyways, that's what we got for today. I appreciate your time, and thanks so much for being here. Anything left, Matt?
I just want to say that land is going to be awesome. I'm so excited for it, and it's going to be a while. I wish it could be out tomorrow. It's going to take some time to build all this stuff, but we're just we're going to make this awesome. So we hope that you guys can be in it for the long haul until that's all done.
All right. Well, thanks all for being here. I'm going to shut down the recording, and we'll be back on 8 p.m. in the following Friday. And in the meantime, go invite some friends and welcome new people to Discord. Thanks, everybody. Bye.